Hi, everybody. Have you heard of the gut hormone link? Many people have heard of the gut brain link, but not so many people may be familiar with how hormones and the gut interact. I'm Dr. Sarah, and today I want to discuss with you this gut hormone link and specifically 6 ways that hormones in your menstrual cycle can mess with your gastrointestinal tract. But I'm also going to discuss the stress effects on the gut. So this will be relevant for all genders. So please stay tuned and make sure that you understand this important connection. So let's start off about gut-related period pain and of stressed out digestive tract. A lot of female clients in my practice will report that they get an aggravation of symptoms around or during their menstrual cycle. And considering 90% of women experience premenstrual syndrome and the widespread impact of hormones on many biological processes, that would make sense that a lot of people are struggling with this. Some of the most common complaints women experience, besides mood shifts, are gastrointestinal issues. In fact, it's estimated that 1/3 of healthy women experience digestive disturbances before and throughout their period. So let's kind of dive into this. But before we do, even though this seems like this information is geared more towards the biological ladies, let me tell you why it's important to pay attention for everyone. First of all, I'm going to go over the gut hormonal link, which is very important because sex hormones exist in all bodies. Second, it can provide an understanding between partners as to why one's symptoms may be aggravated during certain times of the month. Third, all humans should be familiar with how stress and hormones impact functioning of our gut because no one is escaping stress these days. And fourth, it provides an appreciation for nature's delicate and intricate regulation on the human body. So with that, let's dive in and talk about hormones in our digestive tract. So first of all, hormones are powerful chemical messengers and they have receptor sites throughout the whole body. Now, I have had various videos and posts on this very topic, and there will be links to this information in the accompanying article in the video description. So if you want more information on that, be sure to check it out. But basically, these powerful chemical messengers called hormones are responsible for coordinating many of our bodily interactions. And these include regulating homeostasis. Now, homeostasis is basically a balance in our many cellular processes. This includes our blood pressure, our blood sugar, our temperature, our digestion and metabolism, and cellular energy. Hormones obviously are responsible for reproduction, fertility, and our sex drive, for growth and development, and also responses to injury, to stress, to infections, to environmental factors, and our mood. So hormonal fluctuations during one's menstrual cycle can result in a lot of observed symptoms that are related to this premenstrual syndrome or PMS. And this is the mood swings, the cramps, and the gastrointestinal issues. Now, if these hormonal shifts specifically impact the gut, a cascade of unwanted responses can become even more amplified. And this is because, as you know, if you've been following me for a while, the digestive tract is a key area for maintaining health, resiliency, and emotional tone. The gut affects almost everything. And if it isn't a direct link, I'm sure it will be discovered down the road, because the GI tract helps regulate hormone excretion and secretion as well. So the gut symptoms can further exacerbate hormonal and reproductive symptoms in both sexes. And the gut is responsible for many things besides the assimilation and absorption of nutrients and excretion of waste. The GI system also contains over 70% of our immune cells, produces 90% of our serotonin, makes various neurochemicals, communicates with our brain to help supervise various bodily functions through this gut-brain axis, and it even impacts our skin. So these ramifications of how these two systems can have systematic impact will give you an appreciation of how an imbalance in either can compound symptoms and why you need to address both hormones and digestive health if you want to find harmony in either, at least long term. So That is why it's important to understand this connection. Now let's talk more specifically about 6 ways the menstrual cycle and various hormones impact the gut. And the stress hormone link will be discussed in this section, okay? So we've gone through that many women experience these digestive issues. We discussed about how hormones impact the gut and then the ramifications of that downstream effect of all of the different things the gut does with all of the different things the hormones do, creating this amplification effect. So before and during a menstrual cycle, women can experience many gastrointestinal symptoms. This can be discomfort, constipation, diarrhea, alterations in the frequency of bowel movements. That's called the quote unquote period poop. And the gastrointestinal shifts that happen during this time can be for several reasons. So the first one is that prostaglandins signal uterine and gut muscle contractions. Now, during one's period, more compounds called prostaglandins are released. Now, prostaglandins have diverse role in every body, including modulating inflammation, stimulating muscle contractions in the gut uterus, as well as repairing tissue damage. They also regulate several reproductive processes, and in the women, it's specifically shedding the uterine lining during menstruation. So when the prostaglandin signals the GI tract, this can lead to increased bowel movements, diarrhea, softer stools, and menstrual cramping. And the resulting increase in contractions can further amplify any existing gut and menstrual discomfort and bowel frequency. So that's number one, those prostaglandins. And prostaglandins aren't necessarily bad. We need them to help, as I said, regulate and repair tissue damage. And we need some inflammation in our body to heal. It's just that balance. Now, sex hormones also influence the gut specifically. So they actually can impact the gut's motor, sensory, and immune function through this gut-brain neurotransmitter communication. And as a result, when the hormones fluctuate, the alterations in pain sensitivity, gut permeability, motility, local and systemic inflammation, either in the gut or throughout the whole body, and immune balance can become dysregulated. So this can lead to a worsening of bowel symptoms and uterine discomfort. Emotional symptoms can become heightened in conjunction with the GI symptoms through this brain-gut interaction that can exacerbate the distress even more. And then as hormones rise and fall, you can see these changes in stool consistency and frequency. In healthy women, stools are often looser and more frequent with their period, but firmer during that luteal phase, which is after the egg is released and up into the first day of a woman's menstrual cycle. And during this luteal phase, a lot of times there's delayed gastrointestinal transit and constipation can ensue. So remember, because those prostaglandins are more into contractions later on during the actual period. So you have the prostaglandins, how the sex hormones are communicating with the gut through this gut-brain interaction. And then you have how hormones themselves can aggravate GI conditions. So women with bowel disorders already, such as irritable bowel syndrome or irritable bowel disease, oftentimes respond differently to hormonal variations and increased prostaglandin signaling, and this can make their symptoms even worse. And then there's gut issues that can be aggravated by hormones. So women with endometriosis, this is a painful condition in which tissues that line the uterus actually grow outside of it, and they often experience more digestive issues with their period. So when these fluctuations go up and down, the uterus usually will respond, but so will other areas in the body, and this with someone with endometriosis, and this can cause a lot of pain, spasms, and gastrointestinal disturbances. Because remember, in the uterus, there's an exit for this buildup of the tissue to respond and leave the body. But in other areas of the body where there's this endometrial tissue that responds to these hormones, there isn't an exit strategy, so it can cause a lot of pain. And then there's cravings and dietary shifts that can occur with a hormone's fluctuations. And This is related to the brain having receptors for estrogen, which actually suppress hunger, and they lower this signal called ghrelin. And that ghrelin stimulates cholecystokinin, which is an appetite suppressing hormone. So it actually lowers your appetite when you have higher estrogen. Think of lowering those little gremlins. I often think of them as little gremlins. And when estrogen drops and progesterone peaks, that's about a week before a person's period. That's when they get their cravings. That's when they'll notice their hunger increase and they want to eat more. And that makes sense, right? Because they're building a whole new tissue in their uterine lining. The body does need more fuel, but this can lead to shifts in the diet, which can impact our gut bugs or our microbiome, which impact, again, our digestive processes, our inflammation, and our brain-gut communication. And that can change the consistency, the regularity, and the smell of stool before and after someone's period, or before and during someone's period. And then finally, there's stress on the gut. Now, how does stress impact the gut? Well, it affects gut motility, it increases pain sensation in the organs, it alters intestinal secretions, it influences gut permeability and blood flow, and it shifts the microbiota. Because basically what happens is the body, when it's stressed, chronic stress, will shut down the rest and digest part of the autonomic nervous system. So when you're stressed out, the last thing you're going to do is be sitting down and digesting a big ribeye. You're going to be running, and you need, all of the energy diverted from the gut to your peripheral to do more running and get glucose to your legs and to your arms so that you can run away from that saber-toothed tiger. Now, the hormonal variations before and during one's period influences the brain's response to stress, which can change one's mood. And this can modify, again, that gut and brain communication. And as a result, the digestive process is hindered and more discomfort in the GI tract can be exacerbated. But stress, regardless of hormones, does impact the gut, and stress in itself does impact hormones because it impacts cortisol excretion, which is another hormone which can down-regulate your sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone. So everybody's affected by stress and hormones indirectly through stress with their gut. All right. So we talked about 6 ways, and just to review them, we just talked about stress, we talked about cravings and dietary shifts from hormone fluctuations, how gut issues are aggravated by hormones such as endometriosis, how hormonal aggravations aggravate the gut, such as people who already have IBS or IBD. We talked about how sex hormones actually influence the gut through this gut-brain communication, and how there's different receptors and signaling from hormones to the gut, from motility to sensitivity to permeability. And then we talked about prostaglandin secretion. And then we talked about this amplification between this hormone gut link. So we did a lot in this video already. Now, functional medicine and naturopathic doctors might choose to run various different comprehensive tests besides your basic conventional tests to decipher if there is a connection between these hormonal changes and the GI distress, or if a GI distress is related to hormonal changes. So they might run a comprehensive stool test, they might run a neurotransmitter test, they might run comprehensive hormonal panels. And that's going to be all correlated to the symptom picture, and if the doctor feels like they need more information, these are going to be some of the tests that they might choose to run. Now, some of the functional and naturopathic medicine approaches to this would be to have healthy dietary choices. So, I'm a health at every size kind of a gal, and I'm not big on diet culture. There are certain foods that you might want to add in if you're having digestive issues, such as fibers, as long as it doesn't. There are some conditions where fibers, too much of it, such as irritable bowel syndrome or SIBO, could aggravate, but for most people, more fiber will help their digestive tract. And eating a lot of veggies and plant foods can be very good signaling to your gut, as well as healthy fats. Those can calm down inflammation. So we're talking organic, like olive oils and things like that. Those different things that you can add in without going too diet crazy can nourish your gut and nourish your body's ability to heal and be in less discomfort. There's also things such as making sure that you make sleep a priority, stress reduction through various methods, mind body techniques, meditation, making sure you're moving. Movement is a wonderful free medication that's powerful for the brain and the body, and one of the best predictors of longevity and health. Essential oils, which is something I'm going to highlight in a minute, and then specific herbs and supplements can be used. And there'll be links to more information in the video, but you really want to individualize what's best for you based on the specific hormonal imbalances or gut imbalances. Most people, if there's stress involved, can do well with doing some adaptogenic herbs. So we're talking things like ashwagandha, rhodiola, erythro, that'll just calm that stress response, maybe even help people sleep, and also help in the meantime, also indirectly in balancing hormonal issues. Now, essential oils specifically, if we're talking about balancing hormones and estrogen levels, some of my favorite are clary sage, lavender, geranium, rose, and neroli. And then for digestion, probably the star is peppermint oil. It's been found in so many trials. I mean, meta-analyses and meta-analyses of meta-analyses to help a variety of general digestive related complaints, specifically for IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. See, peppermint contains this L-menthol, which is a compound that can block calcium channels in smooth muscles, and that creates an antispasmodic effect on the gastrointestinal tract. And it also possesses antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, immunomodulating, and pain-relieving properties. So if we think of the way that hormones interact with the gut, right, and the way that the gut interacts with hormones, those are a lot of similar pathways that peppermint can help out with. Not that it treats or diagnoses any disease, but it can be supportive if you talk with your doc and make sure that it's right for you. So there you have it. There is some not only information on how your hormones and your cycle can affect your gut, specifically 6 ways, but the hormone gut relationship, the stress gut relationship, and just some lifestyle things that you can do. I gave you some specific tools with essential oils, but there's a lot more basic foundation stuff you can do as well. And you don't have to suffer. You can find help, work with someone to help you find the root cause and address some digestive discomfort and menstrual issues that often get heightened in the gut when the period comes around, and also when stress is bearing on your mind and your body. I hope you found this video useful. If you would like to, please support this video by liking it. I would appreciate it. That means more people can get this information and become empowered, and I can keep providing you this information for free. I also offer free resources on my essential oils website, as well as I have a whole essential oil database and free blogs with a lot of information on naturopathic and functional medicine, specifically for mind, body, hormones, and gut. That's my main focus, but I also have other articles on many other things that you might find useful. So be sure to check it out. And if you want to learn from me directly, I offer online classes as well for both consumers and practitioners. I thank you for your time and your interest in this topic. And thank you for your wanting to learn more about naturopathic and functional medicine. I will talk to you real soon. Take care.